Hi, today we have Carola Mayr. She's engineer from ARRI. Hello, how are you?
Hello, nice to meet you. Thanks for the invitation.
First of all, explain to me what it means to be an image science and texture specialist at ARRI.
Sure. I'm an image science engineer at ARRI and work in the image science team. And the image science team is responsible for the development of the image processing chain which is inside the ARRI cameras. That means we have a very diverse tasks and very diverse research fields. So my topics of the last years were very versatile. So, for example, I was analyzing the technical structures of optical elements inside the camera, like lenses and filters. And then with these results, we are then going to implement and develop digital algorithms which run then inside the camera and optimize and enhance the image or change it to the intended creative intents which we have. And for quite some time now, I'm responsible for the textures. And that's a very interesting topic because it's like part of technical and part creative. And it's really interesting to talk to the customers and the cinematographers and try to understand their needs and then to transport that into technical issues and into technical algorithms and so support their needs and their creative intents.
Mm-hmm. So you are the responsible of the textures in ARRI. So what are ARRI textures?
The ARRI textures are a new feature of the Alexa 35. And with this new feature, we support cinematographers to better or to more influence how the camera captures images. So with the textures, now the cinematographer can influence how the camera captures and processes the images and therefore can more enhance what their purpose or what they want to tell, which story or what their vision is. So to understand that perhaps a little bit more, you have to know that in every ARRI camera until now we have several image processing steps which determine the amount and the character of grain or sharpness and detail. And with the Alexa 35 we've done the same. So we have the K445 default texture, and with this texture you can get a cinematic image. And but now we have gone beyond that, so it's not just one fixed set of textures or of parameters. We have created more textures, so now you have additional parameter settings which are these additional textures, and therefore we not have this not just one cinematic image but also textures for other purposes. So
okay, so you, for example, you can select the texture you want, you pre-installed the texture in your camera and you film your feature movie with this texture, the whole movie. For translating this to a cinematography language, maybe it's a digital film stock, no, that you can pre-install in your camera and then you go on with this texture for the whole project, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you can think of textures like if you went in earlier days, you selected a film stock's character. So also a film stock was determining the character and the amount of grain or amount of sharpness. And with textures, you do the same. So also there you have get a character of film and then you can imprint that right from the beginning and give the image the intended character or the intended creativity which you want to have.
So just for clarifying this, the textures are not a lookup table, they are a calibration system for the sensor, right?
Yes, that's right. That's not a lookup table, it's very close to the sensor and sensor dependent. So it influences, the textures influence parameters in the whole image processing chain, so not just at the beginning, but also right at the beginning. So the textures really start to influence the image processing chain from the beginning to the end, and therefore it's imprinted and it's burned into the image, yes. You cannot change it later in the post like you can with a lookup table, because it's before log-C happens, and there, due to some technical necessities, we have to do that in camera, so right at the beginning. But at the moment, the ARRI textures are really subtle, so they cannot break your image, but still we recommend that you test them in the pre-production on a large, high-quality 4K monitor or a good DCI projector, so you see what you get when you test them. Because if you choose or change between the nostalgic and the default texture, for example, on an onboard monitor or a 17-inch monitor, you won't see a huge difference, perhaps, but when you then later look at the images on a larger monitor or in the projection, for sure you will see the effect which the texture has.
So we are going to re-educate the directors and the producers, because they are going to see the aesthetic of the film by the first instance and not in the post-production, as every day has been done, no, every year, no, we have done this from decades now. We now change the workflow, but we are going to come back to that workflow, no, to have the aesthetic from the beginning. So, for example, if I see the code P425 cosmetic, what does it mean?
The ARRI textures, the names, we try to give them names where you can easily see or recognize what the texture does. So each texture consists of two parts. So there's a technical summary and a more memorable word. And the technical summary, the ARRI textures consist of more than 30 image processing parameters. But of course, we couldn't take 30 image processing parameters and name the texture like that. So we distilled those attributes, or these 30 parameters, down to 4 important attributes. So the first digit is a letter, which defines the type of grain. So grain can vary in quite complex ways, like in color, size, shape, and so on. So the letter itself, like P here, for example, doesn't mean really a lot. It's more an abstract classification. But what you can tell is that the closer the letters are in the alphabet, the closer the grain looks like. So an A texture, for example, looks close to a B texture, but far away from a P texture, or the grain, not the texture itself. So the grain of the texture. And the second digit is for the amount of grain. There the numbers go from 0 to 9. So 9 is the highest number, 0 the lowest. So if we now have P4 was your example, I think that's stands for a medium amount of grain. Then the third digit is for the contrast at fine image structures. Then here again the numbers go from 0 to 9, so the higher the number, the higher the contrast. So in the cosmetic texture we have here, I think a 4 it was, so it's a medium amount of contrast in fine image structures. Oh no, it was a 2, sorry,
Yeah, 2. It's very low contrast, no? So
of course, yeah, I mean, the cosmetic texture is made for skin tone, so it's quite forgiving on small, fine details. Yeah, 2. And the last digit, so the fourth digit, is for the contrast at coarse image structures. So here we have, I think, in the cosmetic texture we had a 5 there. So the contrast is quite medium for coarse image structures. And after that, it's called cosmetic texture. So it's, as the name,
to remember, no?
It's easy to remember. It's quite forgiving on skin tone and good if you want to have a cosmetic look on the image. Yeah.
So related to this, how many textures in Alexa 35 are?
At the moment, in the camera itself, the camera comes with 8 textures. So the default texture and 7 additional textures. But we also have 4 additional textures then on the website for download. So altogether it's 12 at the moment.
Okay, and which are the names, please? You remember at least these 8 that they are like the most used?
So the first one is where the camera boots with. It's the default texture, so it renders a cinematic image.
Sorry, is the default that every ARRI camera has, digital ARRI camera, Alexa camera has from these 10 past years? The default, or it's quite similar, right, no?
It's quite similar, right. So every ARRI camera renders a really cinematic image, so which is adequate for most shooting situations. And with these default texture, we have done the same. So we have set the parameters to values, so you get a cinematic image for the most shooting scenarios, and it's like we had in the cameras before, right? But the 7 additional textures, they are adequate for, or they are like more
creative.
Yes, they are optimized for other shooting situations, or if you want to have another creative intent. So, for example, our most popular textures so far are the nostalgic textures. They render a really grainy image, and they are called soft nostalgic and nostalgic, and you get a vintage image if you want to have that. Then we have more contrasty textures. These are the clarity textures, clarity and high clarity, and they render a lot of detail and contrast, so they are perfect for landscape shots, for example. Then we have the cosmetic texture, as already said, which is really good if you want to have smooth skin tones, because it's quite forgiving on skin. Then we have also shadow textures, which are optimized for a lot of dark content, so they are called shadow and deep shadow.
And they remove the noise a little bit, no? These two last textures.
I mean, they are not rendering grain a lot, so they are really, I mean, it's not just about noise, it's also about how the image is rendered in overall. So, I mean, textures not just influence one parameter, they're influencing a lot in the image processing chain. So they are really optimized if you have dark content.
As a cinematographer, we have to test every texture to see which texture fits perfect.
Yes, for sure. That's what we really recommend, that you really take time in the pre-production and test extensively the textures if they fulfill your needs or not. Yeah, right.
So, well, this field looks amazing. I think that you have a lot of path to discover, no, as an engineer and in ARRI. But the last question that I want to ask you is that in 2015 you won the ARRI ZDF Advanced Award for Women and Media Technology. So, what did this award mean to you in your career?
This award, I was really honored to get that because it's dedicated to final theses which are future-oriented in the field of media technology, and it's especially for women. And it was really a great honor for me to get that, because it was not only that I put a lot of effort into this thesis and got a lot of support from my colleagues at ARRI for that, but it was also I really felt honored to get that acknowledged or rewarded, not only from ARRI and the colleagues, but also from the field itself, so that also other people see the interest and the necessity in that topic. So it was really great to get that award.
Yeah, congratulations, and we are glad also that you have won that award. And I hope that you keep going with this direction. No, in ARRI you have a very long future. As I can see your computer, you are now modeling textures. So yes, we would talk in the future if this goes as, I don't know how many textures as you can develop or not, or we don't know the future of the textures, but looks amazing as a digital film stock. So thanks for having me, and thanks for everything, Carola.
Thank you very much.